But up next, make way for Purple Haze from Season 9, Episode 18. In this electrifying episode of Pawn Stars, a seller walks into the shop with
1963 American-made Fender Stratocaster.
Yep, and he walked in claiming it was played by the legendary Jimi Hendrix.
That's a big wow factor right there.
Jimi Hendrix, man, he's one of the greatest rock and roll legends of all time.
Yep. Now brace yourselves. He is one of the smartest guys in this show. He stood firm and did not cave in. Rick, intrigued by the potential of owning a piece of rock history, examines the guitar closely.
Jimi Hendrix, he was an icon. This guy did things with the guitar that no one did before.
It was owned by a guy named Skip Juried. There was a studio called Juggy Sound Studio that Jimmy loved cutting up in New York. Skip was the chief engineer at Juggy Sound Studio, and after they wrapped up all the production on Band of Gypsies, they gave this guitar to Skip. When he passed away, one of David's business associates and him acquired the guitar.
I'd be willing to take, say, $750,000 for it.
That's a fair ask. To authenticate the guitar and assess its value, Rick consults with music expert Jesse Amoroso. The Stratocaster, with its distinctive Olympic white finish and rosewood fretboard, shows signs of wear consistent with heavy use, including scuff marks and a worn neck, suggesting it was indeed played extensively. Hear it from the expert.
Look at the tremolo bar. These are usually bent and angled up. He played the guitar upside down. He flattened a lot of these out, made them straight. So they probably weren't ramming into his arm and stuff like that.
So Amoroso confirms that the guitar is authentic, pointing out unique features such as the serial number and specific wear patterns that match known characteristics of Hendrix's instruments.
Ring wear. If you're playing the guitar like this, my wedding ring hits the guitar, removes a lot of the paint, finish from there. If you look at this guitar, the top side of the neck has a lot of that wear. That's from the guitar being this way. How Jimmy would have played it. Left-handed.
He estimates the guitar's value to be between $750,000 and $1 million, considering its provenance and condition. Despite the high appraisal, Rick is hesitant to meet the seller's asking price of $750,000. He offers $450,000, citing the risks involved in reselling such a high-value item. The seller, confident in the guitar's worth, declines the offer.
For a guitar that could fetch maybe $1 million on any day, your own guy just told you that? Okay.
Rick raises his offer to $600,000, but the seller remains firm at $750,000.
I'll give you $500,000.
This guitar's worth more than that. It just is.
If you want the money now, I can go $550,000.
Knowing that it could potentially fetch $1 million at an auction, I can't leave that much money on the table.
Even $600,000 was a lowball offer, and Rick knew it. Unable to reach an agreement, the deal falls through. He later confessed in an interview that this was one of his few regrets not buying this. And now, time to uncover another great deal from Season 8, Episode 3, A Hard Day's Pawn.
What do we have here?
I actually got one of the most important documents in rock and roll.
Can you guess what that might be?
Yep.
That's a big wow factor right there.
What's really unique, it had to be signed by two of the parents, James McCartney and Harold Harrison, because at the time, both of them were under 21.
What you're seeing is the signed contract between the Beatles and their manager, Brian Epstein. This contract, dated January 24th, 1962, marks a pivotal moment in music history, as it was the agreement that launched the Beatles into international stardom.
And the agreement basically states what Brian Epstein's cut would be, including vaudeville, concerts, movies, merchandise. The Beatles actually got paid a lot less than he did.
Interesting, right? The contract is a handwritten agreement on Epstein's personal stationery outlining the terms of the band's management under his guidance. It includes signatures from John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr, along with Epstein's. The document is one of the most significant pieces of music memorabilia ever to surface, as it represents the moment when the Beatles committed to their future under Epstein's management.
He basically transformed the Beatles from an unknown band playing small clubs into the biggest rock band ever. When he died, he couldn't be replaced, and it played a large role in the Beatles breaking up.
For those wondering why something like this would show up at a pawn shop, it's all about the cameras. The shop acts more like a stage to showcase high-end items like this. Nobody actually expects to sell something so valuable to a pawn shop, but they're more than happy to score 7 minutes of free TV exposure. And the show, they're just as happy to have something interesting to fill airtime.
When he died, he couldn't be replaced, and it played a large role in the Beatles breaking up. To actually have his original contract in front of me is surreal. Okay.
Rick, recognizing the historical value of the document, consults with an expert in music memorabilia to authenticate the contract. The expert confirms its authenticity, noting the unique aspects of the handwriting and signatures, as well as the paper's age and condition.
Turned the guitar into an extension of his body. Every way he moved was altering the sound of the guitar. When you see him dip down real low, he's bending the guitar, physically bending the guitar.
Right.
He estimates the contract's value to be around $1 million, considering its significance in the history of modern music. The seller, understanding the rarity and value of the contract, is seeking a substantial sum. Rick, however, is cautious, knowing the challenges of reselling such a high-value item.
L14985. This guitar has actually been documented.
After some negotiation, you wouldn't believe what Rick offered to pay.
I'll give you $500,000.
This guitar's worth more than that. It just is.
But thankfully, the seller holds firm. Unable to reach an agreement, the deal falls through. Drop a comment if you think that contract belongs in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Revolutionary Rick.
Okay, so we have the Headless Horseman.
Logically, Season 15, Episode 13. But in this landmark 500th episode of Pawn Stars, Rick Harrison heads to Washington, D.C., where he encounters a three-piece silk suit once worn by none other than George Washington himself. The suit, originally pink and dating back to the 1750s or 1760s, had been passed down through Washington's family before being acquired by a private collector in New York. Rick sounded impressed.
Amazing.
If I could go back and have a cup of coffee with just about anybody in history, it'd probably be this guy.
The seller initially asked for $3 million, then going down to $2.5 million, while Rick offers $2 million.
Since we're friends, the best price, absolute best price would be $2.5 million.
Okay, and you're firm at that?
Even though the colors on it faded, that is just super rare. For a suit that was worn by the first US president nearly 300 years ago, a few $1 million for it sounds just fine. What do you think? So, did Rick concede? See for yourselves.
Okay, well, I guess the suit's out then.
But which of these deals is your favorite? Can you think of any other antique which sold for a record-breaking price on the show? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe, and turn on the post notifications. And check out the next video right here. It's even crazier.